Jeremy Rifkin is an American economic and social theorist, writer, public speaker, political advisor, and activist. Rifkin is the author of 20 books about the impact of scientific and technological changes on the economy, the workforce, society, and the environment. His most recent books include the Zero Marginal Cost Society, the Third Industrial Revolution, the Empathic Civilization, the European Dream, the Hydrogen Economy, the Age of Access, the Biotech Century, and the End of Work. Since 1994, Rifkin has been a senior lecturer at the Wharton School's Executive Education Program at the University of Pennsylvania, where he instructs CEOs and senior management on transitioning their business operations into sustainable economies. Rifkin is also the president of the TIR Consulting Group, LLC, comprising many of the leading renewable energy companies, electricity transmission companies, construction companies, architectural firms, IT and electronics companies, and transport and logistics companies. His global economic development team is working with cities, regions, and national governments to develop the Internet of Things infrastructure for a collaborative commons and a third industrial revolution. The TIR Consulting Group LLC is currently working with the regions of Nord-Pas-de-Calais in France, the metropolitan region of Rotterdam in The Hague, and the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg in the conceptualization, build-out, and scale-up of a smart third industrial revolution infrastructure to transform their economies. Biography. Youth and education. Rifkin was born in Denver, Colorado, to Bevette Ravel Rifkin, daughter of Russian Jewish immigrants to Texas, and Milton Rifkin, a plastic bag manufacturer. He grew up on the southwest side of Chicago. He was president of the graduating class of 1967 at the University of Pennsylvania, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Economics at the Wharton School of Finance and Commerce. Mr. Rifkin was also the recipient of the University of Pennsylvania's General Alumni Association's Award of Merit 1967. He had an epiphany when one day in 1967 he walked past a group of students protesting the Vietnam War and picketing the administration building and was amazed to see, as he recalls, that my frat friends were beating the living daylights out of them. I got very upset. He organized a freedom of speech rally the next day. From then on, Rifkin quickly became an active member of the peace movement. He attended the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University where he continued anti-war activities. Later he joined Volunteers in Service to America. 1970s. In 1974, Rifkin organized a mass protest against oil companies at the commemoration of the 200th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party at Boston's harbor. Thousands joined the protest, as activists dumped empty oil barrels into Boston's harbor. The protest came in the wake of the increase in gasoline prices in the fall of 1974, following the OPEC oil embargo. This was later called Boston Oil Party by the press. In 1978, with Ted Howard, he founded the Foundation on Economic Trends, which is active in both national and international public policy issues related to the environment, the economy, and climate change. FOET examines new trends and their impacts on the environment, the economy, culture and society, and engages in litigation, public education, coalition building and grassroots organizing activities to advance their goals. Rifkin became one of the first major critics of the nascent biotechnology industry with the 1978 publication of his book, Who Should Play God? 1980s. Rifkin's 1981 book Entropy, A New World View discusses how the physical concept of entropy applies to nuclear and solar energy, urban decay, military activity, education, agriculture, health, economics, and politics. It was called A Comprehensive Worldview, and an appropriate successor to Silent Spring, The Closing Circle, The Limits to Growth, and Small is Beautiful by the Minneapolis Tribune. In 1989, Rifkin brought together climate scientists and environmental activists from 35 nations in Washington, D.C. for the first meeting of the Global Greenhouse Network. In the same year, Rifkin did a series of Hollywood lectures on global warming and related environmental issues for a diverse assortment of film, television and music industry leaders, with the goal of organizing the Hollywood community for a campaign. Shortly thereafter, two Hollywood environmental organizations, Earth Communications Office and Environmental Media Association, were formed. 1990s. In 1993, Rifkin launched the Beyond Beef campaign, a coalition of 6 environmental groups including Greenpeace, Rainforest Action Network, and Public Citizen, with the goal of encouraging a 50% reduction in the consumption of beef, arguing that methane emissions from cattle has a warming effect 23 to 50 times greater than carbon dioxide. Beginning in 1995, Rifkin was a senior lecturer at the Wharton School's executive education program at the University of Pennsylvania. His 1995 book, The End of Work, is credited by some with helping shape the current global debate on automation, technology displacement, corporate downsizing and the future of jobs. Reporting on the growing controversy over automation and technology displacement in 2011, The Economist pointed out that Rifkin drew attention to the trend back in 1996 with the publication of his book The End of Work. The Economist asked, "What happens when machines are smart enough to become workers? In other words, when capital becomes labor?" The Economist noted that this is what Jeremy Rifkin, a social critic, was driving at in his book, The End of Work, published in 1996. Mr. Rifkin argued prophetically that society was entering a new phase, one in which fewer and fewer workers would be needed to produce all the goods and services consumed. In the years ahead, he wrote, more sophisticated software technologies are going to bring civilization ever closer to a near-workless world. The process has already begun. His 1998 book, The Biotech Century, addresses issues accompanying the new era of genetic commerce. In its review of the book, the journal Nature observed that Rifkin does his best work in drawing attention to the growing inventory of real and potential dangers and the ethical conundrums raised by genetic technologies. At a time when scientific institutions are struggling with the public understanding of science, there is much they can learn from Rifkin's success as a public communicator of scientific and technological trends. In the Biotech Century, Rifkin argues that genetic engineering represents the ultimate tool. With genetic technology we assume control over the hereditary blueprints of life itself. Can any reasonable person believe for a moment that such unprecedented power is without substantial risk? Some of the changes he highlights are, replication partially replacing reproduction, and genetically customized and mass-produced animal clones could be used as chemical factories to secrete in their blood and milk large volumes of inexpensive chemicals and drugs for human use. 2000s. After the publication of The Hydrogen Economy, Rifkin worked both in the US and Europe to advance the political cause of renewably generated hydrogen. In the US, Rifkin was instrumental in founding the Green Hydrogen Coalition, consisting of 13 environmental and political organizations that are committed to building a renewable hydrogen-based economy. His 2004 book, The European Dream, was an international bestseller and winner of the 2005 Coren International Book Prize in Germany for the Best Economics Book of the Year. Rifkin is the principal architect of the Third Industrial Revolution long-term economic sustainability plan to address the triple challenge of the global economic crisis, energy security, and climate change. The Third Industrial Revolution was formally endorsed by the European Parliament in 2007 and is now being implemented by various agencies within the European Commission. Rifkin has lectured before many Fortune 500 companies, and hundreds of governments, civil society organizations, and universities over the past 35 years. 2011 and 2012 In 2011, Rifkin published The Third Industrial Revolution: How Lateral Power is Transforming Energy, the Economy, and the World. The book was a New York Times bestseller, and has been translated into 19 languages. By 2014, approximately 500,000 copies were in print in China alone. Rifkin delivered a keynote address at the Global Green Summit 2012 on May 10, 2012. The conference was hosted by the Government of the Republic of Korea and the Global Green Growth Institute, in association with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and United Nations Environment Programme. President Lee Myung-bak of South Korea also gave a speech at the conference and embraced the Third Industrial Revolution to advance a green economy. In December 2012, Bloomberg Businessweek reported that the newly elected Premier of China, Li Keqiang, is a fan of Rifkin and had told his state scholars to pay close attention to Rifkin's book, The Third Industrial Revolution. Rifkin received the America Award of the Italy-USA Foundation in 2012. He currently works out of an office in Bethesda, Maryland, a suburb of Washington, D.C. 2014 In April 2014, Mr. Rifkin published the Zero Marginal Cost Society, the Internet of Things, the Collaborative Commons, and the Eclipse of Capitalism. 2015 Mr. Rifkin was awarded an honorary doctorate from Hasselt University in Belgium in the spring of 2015. Mr. Rifkin also received an honorary doctorate from the University of Liège in Belgium in the fall of 2015. In November 2015, The Huffington Post reported from Beijing that Chinese Premier Li Keqiang has not only read Jeremy Rifkin's book, The Third Industrial Revolution, and taken it to heart. He and his colleagues have also made it the core of the country's 13th five-year plan announced in Beijing on October 29. The Huffington Post went on to say that this blueprint for China's future signals the most momentous shift in direction since the death of Mao and the advent of Deng Xiaoping's reform and opening up in 1978. Reception. According to the European Energy Review, perhaps no other author or thinker has had more influence on the EU's ambitious climate and energy policy than the famous American visionary Jeremy Rifkin. In the United States, he has testified before numerous congressional committees and has had success in litigation to ensure responsible government policies on a variety of environmental, scientific and technology-related issues. The Union of Concerned Scientists has cited some of Rifkin's publications as useful references for consumers, and the New York Times once stated that many in the scholarly, religious, and political fields praise Jeremy Rifkin for a willingness to think big, raise controversial questions, and serve as a social and ethical prophet. Criticism Rifkin's work has also been controversial. Opponents have attacked the lack of scientific rigor in his claims as well as some of the tactics he has used to promote his views. The Harvard scientist Stephen Jay Gould characterized Rifkin's 1983 book Algeny as a cleverly constructed tract of anti-intellectual propaganda masquerading as scholarship. A 1989 Time article about Rifkin's activist methods details reactions by scientists, especially geneticists, of that decade. Works. Books 1973, How to Commit Revolution American Style, Bicentennial Declaration, with John Rosson, Lal Stewart Incorporated, ISBN 0-8184-0041-2, 1975. Common Sense 2, The Case Against Corporate Tyranny, Bantam Books, OCLC 123151709, 1977, Own Your Own Job, Economic Democracy for Working Americans, ISBN 978-0-553-10487-5, 1977, Who Should Play God? The Artificial Creation of Life and What It Means for the Future of the Human Race, with Ted Howard, Dell Publishing Company, ISBN 0-440-19504-7, 1978, The North Will Rise Again, Pensions, Politics and Power in the 1980s, with Randy Bubba, Beacon Press, ISBN 0-8070-4787-2, 1979, The Emerging Order, God in the Age of Scarcity, with Ted Howard, Putnam, ISBN 978-0-399-12319-1, 1980, Entropy, A New World View, with Ted Howard, Viking Press, ISBN 0-670-29717-8, 1983, Algeny, A New Word A New World, in collaboration with Nicanor Perlas, Viking Press, ISBN 0-670-10885-5, 1985, Declaration of a Heretic, Routledge and Kagan Paul. ISBN 978-0710207104, 1987, Time Wars, The Primary Conflict in Human History, Henry Holt & Company, ISBN 0-8050-0377-0, 1990, The Green Lifestyle Handbook, 1001 Ways to Heal the Earth, Henry Holt & Company, ISBN 0-8050-1369-5, 1991, Biosphere Politics, A New Consciousness for a New Century, Crown, ISBN 0-517-57746-1, 1992, Beyond Beef, The Rise and Fall of the Cattle Culture, E. P. Dutton, ISBN 0-525-93420-0, 1992, Voting Green, Your Complete Environmental Guide to Making Political Choices in the 90s, with Carol Grunewald Rifkin, Main Street Books, ISBN 0-385-41917-1, 1995, The End of Work, The Decline of the Global Labor Force and the Dawn of the Post-Market Era, Putnam Publishing Group, ISBN 0-87477-779-8, 1998, The Biotech Century. Harnessing the Gene and Remaking the World, J. P. Tarcher, ISBN 0-87477-909-X, 2000, The Age of Access, The New Culture of Hypercapitalism, Where All of Life is a Paid-for Experience, Putnam Publishing Group, ISBN 1-58542-018-2, 2002, The Hydrogen Economy, The Creation of the Worldwide Energy Web and the Redistribution of Power on Earth, Jeremy P. Tarcher, ISBN 1-58542-193-6, 2004, The European Dream, How Europe's Vision of the Future is Quietly Eclipsing the American Dream, Jeremy P. Tarcher, ISBN 1-58542-345-9, 2010, The Empathic Civilization, The Race to Global Consciousness in a World in Crisis, Jeremy P. Tarcher, ISBN 1-58542-765-9, 2011, The Third Industrial Revolution, How Lateral Power is Transforming Energy, the Economy, and the World, Palgrave Macmillan, ISBN 978-0-230-11521-7, 2014, The Zero Marginal Cost Society, The Internet of Things, The Collaborative Commons, and the Eclipse of Capitalism, Palgrave Macmillan, ISBN 978-1-137-27846-3. See also, Genetic Pollution, National Veterans Inquiry, Winter Soldier Investigation, The Empathic Civilization. References. External links, fuet.org, The Third Industrial Revolution.com, EmpathicCivilization.com, appearances on C-SPAN, rossinstitute.org, Euractiv.com, Guardian.co.uk. Sorry, Mr. President, homilies won't stop the hurricanes. We Americans need to get out of our SUVs and learn the harsh lesson of Katrina and Rita. We are all to blame. Jeremy Rifkin, The Guardian, European Parliament leaders announce green hydrogen initiative.